Is the US stock market on the edge of a crash, or has a trigger just signaled from buyers which will create a rally despite fears of a Trump-driven downturn? We'll break down why the US stock market is now primed for an upward move. Plus, we'll spotlight two US market giants whose share prices are setting up for an opportunity unlike anything we've seen in years. Buckle up, because the outcome will actually surprise you. We are Wealth Within, and we've over 2 decades of educating over 30,000 traders and investors. We bring you what actually works in the stock market. I'm Dale Gillham, Chief Analyst, and joining me today are Wealth Within's professional traders, Philip Tortevsky and Pedro Banales. Good evening, guys. How are you?
Good evening. Welcome back. And I love doing these shows. In light of panic, we're here to talk about what the market is actually doing and shed some light on how things will play out, because, you know, the common, theme is that the market is crashing right now.
Well, that's what you're seeing everywhere. It doesn't matter whether you go to, CNN or the YouTube or the mainstream media. They're all talking about crash, 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 crash. And I went, if you're talking about a crash, how the hell is the stock market going to crash? Because who's panicking?
Exactly, yeah.
It's just like, and that's that contrarian view. I mean, Buffett talks about this contrarian view, buying doom, selling boom. So is it really doomy now?
Yeah, that's the question that we are going to answer very soon. But it's good you raise that, because you're right. A lot of the greatest opportunities out on the market, and one of the best proponents of that has been Warren Buffett, and he is by nature a contrarian. And what we do, we looking at the share prices, which we're going to get into soon, we're able to identify that, hey, let's see what the news is saying. Then when you measure that with price, oftentimes they don't add up. So we're going to show you some good stuff tonight.
Well, let's get into the S&P 500 and show the bigger picture of the market first, and then we'll discuss some of the other things around why a market is not crashing or can't crash at the moment, because there's certain signals that happen before the peak of a market. So we'll discuss that as well. But let's get into the chart of the S&P 500.
All right, let's do it. So Pedro,
I'll take it away. So, I mean, I totally agree with what you guys are saying. This does not seem like a crash at the moment. We've got the monthly chart on the left and the weekly chart on the right. I'll expand the monthly chart out first. And you can see that it's not unlike the American market to actually have these types of falls. I mean, we call them corrections if they're around that 10% mark. And that's what it seems to be at the moment. It's, we've found some solid support around that 10% mark. And
well, that's pretty normal though, isn't it?
It is pretty normal. And it's just the normal types of ebbs and flows of the market. You can't have a market that goes up forever. And of course, the news is always going to tie it to some type of catalyst. Right now, it's the Trump tariffs. So there's always going to be some reason why the market is going down, but it always does go down before it goes back up again.
One of the interesting things to me, I mean, I've been trading the markets for 30 years. I've been through 87 crash, 2007, all of that sort of stuff. And the definition of a crash has changed.
Yeah.
It's like it used to be 30% plus, and now it's anywhere between 20 and 25%. I went, that's normal. Like, I know within sort of between 2007-ish, we're going to have a 30% pullback on the market in the US and around the world. But that's, in my view, that's still not a crash. 50% is a crash, but not 20 to 30%. But anyway, let's have a bit of a look at the Dow Jones. Can we have a quick look at that just to show that, or are you going to do something else?
I was going to get my turn on the S&P, if that's all right, because there are a few technical things that are really important to highlight. So let's get to the chart and have a look there for you, back to the S&P. And I guess the major thing for me, in light of what is happening, I totally agree with what Pedro's saying in terms of right now we're in correction territory, 10%. But to me, it's the nature of the rise and the fall.
Yes.
And when we're talking about the nature of this fall right now, we are on a monthly chart here, as you can see. And I want to raise the point of what we're seeing during this period since 2023 and liken it back to 2021. If we look at each of the corrections during 2023 onwards, you don't see any green reaction from the buyers or weak buying following.
Yeah.
It's literally selling followed by strong buying, selling followed by strong buying. And that is typical in terms of what you would see when there's only seller activity on the way down. Generally, they tend to lend to those V-shaped recoveries like we saw during COVID.
Yes.
When it's, event-driven, something that is spooking the market more so than fundamentally broken. We will find in time what the effect of the tariffs are, but right now we are seeing no weak buyer activity on the monthly chart. And so that is something which lends itself to the fact that this is just a correction right now. If we go back to the 2022 period where we see seller interaction, then buyers come through and they start to weaken off, then we can have a different discussion. But as you've rightfully said, if the whole world thinks the market's about to crash, generally speaking, it ain't going to happen.
It's not going to happen. And the thing is with these crashes, this is normal. 8 to 12% is normal for a pullback on a market correction. That's normal, and we have it. What a lot of people don't understand is the market runs in phases. We've always heard about, the market has cycles, business cycles, those sorts of things. These phases are very, very repeatable, and we've got data back on the Dow way back to the 1800s. So we've studied a lot, and whilst we're keeping these charts really simple for people who aren't technical analysts, we've got really complex charts on this to understand where we are in these different phases. And right now, I don't see anything that's telling me that this is going to crash. We're not getting euphoric buying. We're not getting that at the moment. And remember that before the GFC, it was euphoric buying. Same with 87. It was just vertical. And everybody at that time was saying the market can't crash.
That's when you should watch out.
That's when I get scared. Right now, when they're telling me it's crashing, I'm not scared. This is the time to start buying and really setting yourselves up. So what's the next chart we're going to look at?
Just one more thing, because I want to really zoom into what we are seeing this week in terms of news and price action. So if we dive deeper on the chart and get into the weekly there for you, there is one more bit of analysis that I just want to highlight, and that is the fact, okay, so we're looking at what's happened this week. This is a weekly chart of the data for the S&P for this week. Now, negative news, you would expect that the market would be falling.
Yes, should be.
Since Monday, the market is actually up. So
surprise.
and yeah, exactly. Yeah. And what is, I guess, even more interesting or exciting about this unfolding in terms of price action is that the market's gone back to test the March low. And we know that the market came off a nice pullback into March. We've tested the March low. It's had every opportunity to fall away with the news that's come through. It's actually done the exact opposite. So this is where it's so important to be looking at these charts, because you're going to hear certain things out in the media, but just looking at the price action alone tells me a completely different story right now.
I love that reversal that you've highlighted there, that red bar. The sellers came in and really drove the market back up, and now it's closing on the high, which is a very bullish sign for this market.
Now, the week hasn't closed, so it could fall out of bed Thursday, Friday.
Correct.
So it could do that and close low.
Yeah.
If this closes high on Friday night, what are you saying?
Reversal.
Yeah.
The reversal, it's going up.
Yeah, you've got to look at it from a logical perspective. And if buyers are picking up this news, then hey, I mean...
Are we going to get into any of the sectors, or are we going to leave that for next week's show?
We are going to get into two giants on the US stock market.
Let's do that. That's exciting. So let's have a look at those.
All right. So first up, we've got Tesla on your screen, which we're going to get into. Now, this one, again, a stock that has been in the news so much over the last couple of weeks, months. Obviously, Elon Musk is the man that is driving behind all of this, moving on to Doge. So there's news out of that as well. But the point of this stock was that in light of everything that it's faced over the last 6 to 12 months, right now we are at levels that we haven't seen for the best part of a year. And that could be an exciting opportunity, particularly from a technical perspective. It's these market giants that give you an indication of what the market's likely to do. If we are in crash possibility, then we would be seeing these prices really point further bearish. But we're not actually seeing that with Tesla right now. It's actually turning the corner. It's come off a significant pullback, but factor that into what you've seen prior to that. A significant pullback following a euphoric move. That is not uncommon. It's actually quite healthy. If you get moves that continuously run in euphoric fashion, at some point will be met with selling.
It will.
And so we've seen that leg come through now. We're holding a level of support and resistance at around 260, which is vital for this stock. It's been crucial in the past to hold it up. We're respecting a nice trend line through there, and we're starting to reverse on the monthly chart. So right now, for me, this is one that you do need to be watching.
So you're saying this is a close watch or a buy, or?
I think this is a very close watch, and it really comes down to the risk profile of the trader or investor.
Yep.
Right now, you've got the investors that are more active, that are looking to get involved, that do have rules in place in terms of where their capital protection is. If they're all ticked off, then I would say it's an opportunity to be looking at. If you're thinking long-term buy and hold, potentially waiting for a little bit more confirmation would be the play.
Yeah, I mean, I know when you're looking for a market peaking and or crashing, you're looking at the top stocks, and looking at the top 10 stocks in the S&P 500. They're a big chunk of the market cap of the S&P 500. but it's also big weighted to big tech.
Yeah, the big seven.
So there, I'd be looking at that, and probably in next week's show we probably have a look at the tech sector and see what that's actually doing. So we got more on Tesla now, or
Yeah, I just wanted to add in, more to your question before, what type of trader is this for? And I think that this very much is a trading type stock.
Yeah, it is.
And if we go to the chart, I'll highlight what I mean. So if we can get into the chart, we can see that it has typical cycles. So you can see that it has these euphoric runs followed by these, down moves, and then another euphoric run followed by another down move. If you just put some simple rules in this one, even the ones that we teach on the Trading Mentor course that we provide here, you could make some very good money just with very simple rules here. And I love the fact that that the volume supports the moves as well. So right now we're seeing volume coming in as the stock is rising, which means there's more participants in the market. And that is a telltale sign that something is about to happen. So I agree, keep a very close eye on this one.
Tesla is really easy to trade. And I found that, and you guys know I used to do weekly interviews for syndicated radio across the US back, right through to about 2023. For 4 or 5 years I was doing that, and then Tesla was going up and down, and there were all these reports, Tesla's going to this price, and I'd be saying to the interviewer, no, it's going to halve in price, and they go, no. I go, yeah, and then when I did it, they go, how did you do that? I go, because it's very predictable, very, very predictable. So right now it's fallen nearly half in price, hasn't it?
Yeah.
Yep.
So to me, that is a huge signal that it's going to take off like a rocket. So I think I'm with you. Get into this, look at this stock and do your research and really make sure that it suits your portfolio. But I'm 100% with you guys. This is exciting right now.
Yeah, it's about being early to the party.
Yeah, don't be late.
Yeah, being late, there's no spoils in being late.
Get in early and take the rise, because often what you have is the people get FOMO, but by the time they get into it, it's already halfway done. So
and usually the retail traders are the late ones to get in, and unfortunately they get burnt. So
there you have it. We've told you about Tesla. So what's the next one?
The next one is Amazon. Another huge market player.
Yeah.
So let's get straight to the charts on this one, because another, again, as we mentioned, giant in the market, and also Amazon, and I want to stick to the monthly chart to start off, but coming off a healthy correction like most of the big players in the market, this one's actually fallen 20%. So we've moved into...
double what the market's.
Yep, so not correction. Pedro, you're our bear market. What does the 20%?
It's the soothsayer.
Correction. 20% correction?
25% now. So like Dale said, it keeps moving.
Yep.
A correction is 10%, 25% is apparently a crash.
Yep, there you go. Well, on a big stock like this, coming a 25% crash, looking at the chart puts this in a whole completely different perspective.
I don't even start working up a sweat till at least 25.
Yeah. And I mean, it's so interesting right now. It's obviously broken through to new all-time highs, and we know that stocks throughout history, if we just zoom out on this one, every time it's gone through to a new all-time high, we experience pullbacks. As I'm scrolling through, new all-time high, that's that euphoric buying you were talking about. It is never sustainable. We get a pullback. Recently, we've broken through to to a new all-time high, experienced a pullback. Again, this euphoric type buying coming through, that's met with some selling. But what's really nice about this stock is that it is moving in trend, and it's flowing in trend. It's come back to a level that you would expect it to come back to in terms of support. And now it's starting to reverse from this level. So right now, again, this is another player, huge player at discounted prices. But again, it's always so important to look for that confirmation, get in at the right time. Don't just buy the dip, know when to get in, be educated on your entry. That's the safe trade.
So when is, well, the point is when is the difference between a dip and a crash, and when will you know?
Yeah, well, that's the $1 million question.
People can't buy the dip, but it could be first. And I love this. I mean, when's the best time to steal somebody's wallet?
When they're not looking.
When they're not looking. And everybody's not looking at Amazon. They're not looking at Tesla to buy. They're not looking at the market. They're thinking it's crashing. So that's the best time for the big end of town to start stealing everybody's wallet in, if I'm metaphorically speaking.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So to me, it's a really exciting time because there are things with crashes that have to line up. And right now, I'm not seeing any of those, that euphoric buying. If you're looking at, the market sentiment, yes, there's bearishness, but that's what Buffett says. Love the bearishness. And I know the best profits I've ever made, and our students, and when we're teaching and mentoring them, the best profits we make is when everybody else is looking the other way and we're stealing their wallet.
Yep,
It's
exactly.
pretty simple as that. Any last words from you guys?
Yeah, I mean, I just wanted to add what Phil was saying. You know, I love the confluence of this level that is finally found support at, because it is a very strong support level from the past. And if we go back to the chart, you can see that it found resistance many times in the past at around that level at 180, but it's also respecting this long-term trend line. And look, this, again, if we go back to thinking, well, has this stock bottomed or not? Well, we're going to have to see what happens soon. When, if I can just find that little trend line tool here.
Oh, you want the trend arrow?
The trend arrows, I'm getting...
I'll help you out. You're getting a bit fancy here, Pedro, mate.
Yeah.
Let's go there.
Where's the trend arrow? They've taken it away from me.
There you go.
There we go. All right. So if we saw something like this and then, selling start to happen and get rejected, well, you'd be getting a little bit worried. And then if it did break that bottom there, then you'd definitely, be worried there. But, we just need to see it unfold a little bit.
But I'd say even to that point, as a technician, when you know this kind of stuff, you don't need to be worried, because you can always pull the trigger and get out, trail a stop up, protect the position. There are so many things you can do just by watching and knowing how to follow price. But anyway.
Yeah, I agree with you. I mean, during the 2007 GFC, people are going, Dale, aren't you stressed? I go, no, this is just normal to me. It's a bit deeper move, but it's still pretty normal stuff, so don't worry about it. Well, if you want more hot stock tips, check out our YouTube channel, Wealth Within.